Hello, welcome to the Groundhopper's Guide. This is number 8. Yep.
8.
We've missed a beat here because we should have 8 grounds to talk about, but we don't. Technically, it's 8. But so
You can mention the 8th one just for...
Yeah, we've got Hampton and Richmond. We've got Burton Albion, Studley, which would take us up to 8. Barton Rovers, Portsmouth, Burnley, Arundel FC, and Southampton. So I've actually got 2 Premier League grounds in there, which is
it's the first appearance of the Premier League in the Groundhopper's Guide, but it's also the first appearance of the Southern Combination League Division 1. So, swings and roundabouts.
Both important divisions in the world of football. I'm sure you'll agree.
Of course, yeah.
I'm on Curious, by the way. This is Mike Kilby. We are the hosts of the Groundhopper's Guide, and we're going to have a bit of a chat about some football grounds today.
Yes. So are we going to go in order by chronologically? So taking us back to previous episode when we had our Mansfield special, we just after that I hopped down to London with work for a few days. And I managed to catch a midweek game in West London because I was staying over by Heathrow, and that was at the wonderful Beverley Stadium, home of Hampton and Richmond Borough, the Beavers of Conference South, National League South. Very interesting ground. It's one of the ones that's in the Mike Bailey Book of 100 Greatest British Grounds.
I actually have it right next to me here, so I'll just whip that up onto the.
We refer to this quite often. It's kind of almost like the Bible, which I think a lot of people are aiming to do them all.
I've done like 15 so far, so working my way through.
I think I've done quite a few of them as well. So so it's one of Mike Bailey's 100 favourites, and it was a National League South clash between Hampton and Richmond Borough. A mid-table clash with Eastbourne Borough, so very southern affair there. A little bit about Hampton. Hampton is sort of in the west end of London, near Hampton Court Palace, which you probably might have heard of, and it's a bit of a strange place, really. It's got a bit of a village feel to it. You're walking through. You come off I got the bus down there, but if you'd hop off the train in Hampton, because you have to walk across the train tracks to get to the stadium, it does feel like a bit of a village. You've got these little tiny pubs, little villagey style shops.
I do have the train tracks.
The wrong side of the tracks. Level crossing in London, which there can't be that many. It's a very posh place, I think we would say. But once you get into the ground, it's a bit of a cluttery stadium, if that's a word. Little bit of hodgepodge of lots of different types of stands, big stands. That's one of the that's on the edge of one of the stands. There was like 3 catering. No, there was like 4 places where you could get like food or beer. So it was like you're spoilt for choice there. I can't exactly remember.
Pretty decent for that level, though.
Yeah, and I didn't have any, but I did have a beer there because I wasn't driving. So I had they had like a local London ale, which was very nice.
I got a picture of that as well. Look at that.
There we go. Yeah, the obligatory non-league pint picture. That's one of the little weird stands there. That seemed to be one that sort of was in the background. That was one that was more of a, I think, like the players and directors sort of stand, as you do often find at this sort of level. You'll have an area which is kind of like reserved and it's just for the players. Actually, most grounds you have that. It was a cold February evening. I'm not going to admit it was particularly. It was particularly tropical there, but the Eastbourne team, I think, in the first half, for sort of what I do remember from the game, the first half, Eastbourne they took an undeserved leave after.
This is a while ago, isn't it? It's like 6 or 7 weeks ago.
Yeah. I've been to a lot since that. They took a fairly undeserved lead after 9 minutes, and then it ended up finishing 2-0 to Eastbourne. On the second half, I ended up standing with some grumpy old Eastbourne fans. They were very grumpy.
They won.
Yeah, they won. And there was also, because when I sort of go to like non-league level games, I do like to sort of go behind the bench to sort of
go near the dugout so you can hear the abuse.
Yeah, hear the industrial language, and there was plenty of that from the Hampton bench anyway. Eastbourne seemed a bit more of a professional side, really. They kind of seem to have things a bit more in hand.
I'm just reading your tweet. This is why I'm giggling. It's okay to disagree, but let's not get personal. Well, personally, I think your number 9 is a dickhead.
Yes, that was it. Yes, I do remember that. Yeah, that was it was a bit of a it was a good sort of laugh anyway, and it was one of the ones that's a little bit far out really for me. It's a bit of an awkward one to get to, but because I was in that part of London, it was almost like a free hit really to get there. So I would definitely recommend it if you are able to get over there.
It looks nice, to be honest. I'm quite jealous I missed that one. It was it was a very good ground. There was one sort of for the Luton fans among us. There was one former Hatter on the Hampton and Richmond side, and he was by far like their best player. It was a gentleman called Jake Gray, who played for Luton a good few years ago, and he played sort of in the football leagues. He's one of them players that he's playing well below his level, for sure. Come from Crystal Palace and went on to Yeovil Town, on to Woking, and he's been at Hampton since 2020. So playing well below his level, in my opinion. But he was sort of very good, even if he didn't actually get anywhere. But yeah, that was Hampton Richmond Borough. It was an hour on the bus from sort of Heathrow Airport. So if you fly in, a nice, easy one to do. If you're flying in for Hampton, Hampton and Richmond Borough, yeah, why not?
No, I could think of worse teams to fly in for. So it was a good laugh, and definitely a good one to tick off, and a little green dot in a part of London I've not actually really been to very much. So.
That's fair. About a week or so after that, I went up to Burton Albion with Tom from Romulus, Tannoy Tom. I did ask Mike if he wanted to go, and he was like, "No, I've been there already." I think you had something else on that day, but it was like, I've already been to Burton. So
yeah, I'm just trying to work out when I went actually.
Yeah, I basically decided to knock it off while you were unavailable.
I went to Burton versus Luton in 22nd of November 2014, so nearly 8 years ago. So,
I'll put up some pictures from the ground, and we'll see if it's changed.
I don't think it has, because
I don't think it has either. Probably that's the outside, which from the outside it really doesn't look like a football stadium.
Yeah, it looks like a conference centre or something.
Yeah. There's very little to give it away from the outside that it is actually a football stadium. A wall outside, and inside very small for the level we're at here. This is League One. This is a very, very small ground.
It's modern. It's modern, but it does feel very. I remember being there and. It felt like very, very, I don't want to say small time, but it definitely did feel like
I know, exactly.
In the sense that, like, I think there's a few grounds which kind of give that vibe, especially from like the photographs. The other one I think of that sort of thing is Morecambe's Globe Arena. Very, very similar sort of very new build. And
this isn't the new build. This is 2005.
Nearly
I just had to scroll up to read that, so I scroll back down again. This is my view from the corner. I went to about 4 games in a row where I was sat in the exact same place, and it wasn't intentional. I just sat down. I'm like, I'm in the same place again. So, yeah, I was down in this corner, this beach that we have down here.
Take your bucket and spade next time.
Yeah, I said to Maria, we're going to have a sandcastle building competition at half time, and she looked at me like as if say, "Are you serious?" I'm like, no.
I could put a barbecue on there and cook a few burgers or something.
Yeah, but honestly, this is the kind of size of ground that I quite like.
Yeah,
Not a stand-in, not a lot of pressure really on the players at this level from the crowd. It's
what size is Burton? Is it like 6,000 or 7,000? It's
no, yeah, I would have known this at the time.
Yeah, I could probably quickly find it out, but it's I think it's kind of almost the opposite of like, so for example, going back to like Mansfield Town. Mansfield Town's ground isn't actually, yeah, it's just over 7,000, just under 7,000. Mansfield Town ground isn't that much bigger than that, is it? But obviously it's an old
bigger. Plus, it's got that great big stand on the one side. I guess you lose the whole side at Mansfield. So.
It is there is obviously that being lost, but yeah, so it's 9,000 at Field Mill, so it's only 1,000. But Burton felt small, whereas Mansfield
felt quite big.
Bigger.
I think what really weirds me out about Burton is they're in the same division, and I've put it down here. It's the same division that Sunderland, Sheffield Wednesday, and Ipswich play in, and those are all whopping great big grounds. Like Ipswich is 30,000, Sheffield Wednesday's 39, Sunderland's 49. They're playing in the same league as this, which is very weird.
Yeah, and it's almost like when you watch if you ever see like the Bulgarian First Division, you'll have a team in the Olympic Stadium in Sofia, and then like a village team with like a tractor and one stand. Almost a bit like that.
Yeah, well, there's 2 things that I have a bit of a beef with Burton about. One is that they're called the Brewers, and 2 is that they sell carling in the ground.
Well, I suppose it's the local drop, I suppose. But there's no excuse. You'd expect to have something interesting.
I did consider stopping off on the way because there's like a local brewery down the road, but we weren't sure what parking was going to be like, so we went straight to the ground and then straight in and had a pint of, I think it was Prava that we had. It was about
the best of a bad luck.
I didn't want to risk the Guinness. I felt that was risky at this level, especially with a stand that's named after carling. I was quite pleased with the mascot though. This lad Billy the Brewer.
He looks like a right rotter.
So you thought he'd look like a right mess, but I mean I've been describing him here as a weird looking freakish thing with a lopsided face. But he took the piss out of the opposition substitutes when they were warming up, which for me,
yeah, that's good points.
Yeah, you need that bit of bants, that bit of interaction, and I've seen varying degrees of it from the mascots, but the ones that I've come away remembering are the ones that kind of got stuck into the opposition a bit.
Yeah,
or at least were like really active. So like Hayden the Womble, Sammy the Stag, and Billy the Brewer's on my shortlist for mascot of the year.
It's sort of on the same topic, but did you see the video of Harry the Hatter mocking the fat QPR fan from the other weekend?
I did not.
I'll have to get that sent over to you. It's very funny. He gets his belly out and like goes that. It's dead funny.
Considering this is quite a small ground, I quite like the little digital scoreboard they had there. That was quite a nice little touch. But that was about as high tech as it got.
Yeah. Well, I think Burton's a team. I think for a long while they had a prolonged period of success because they went up from the conference in 2010, I believe. It was the year after Luton went down, because there was a period where Burton Albion were the only team in the Football League that Luton had never played. because they went up at the same time, and then when we went into League Two, they were in League One. So there was a period where they weren't together.
They just kind of scooted past them, and
but yeah, they had a period where they went Conference, League Two, League One, straight up, and I think they've sort of managed to keep the. I mean, they were in the Championship a few years back.
Yeah, it's ridiculous to think of this as a Championship ground. I took a bit of an arty shot at the end, so that's.
Was that before you got your new phone?
I think it might have been actually. So that's on a really bad phone as well. So I'm quite pleased with that. I messed around with the settings and got like a pretty decent shot at the end. But yeah, considering the size of it, to think of it as a ground that's hosted Championship games is
I mean, this is a team that used to have Nigel Clough as their manager.
Nigel Clough, who's actually good at his job, we discovered after berating him after the Walsall game.
Yeah, that was it was. I think they're a team that are perennially sort of punching above their weight, but I think they found. I think League One is a good level for them, and I think there's space for clubs of that sort of size because they are. I don't think you could have anything bigger in Burton simply for the fact that I mean I know people who live in Burton as well, and they either support Derby or Forest. You don't tend to really. Burton Albion's a very, very new club, really, and I think, especially if you live around there, you're more likely to support Forest or Burton.
Yeah.
Sorry, Forest or Derby.
Forest or Derby.
So
you'd probably be more likely to support Mansfield than Burton, and they're a division lower.
Quite possibly.
Just for historical purposes, because they've been more established for a longer time.
Mansfield supporting Glory Hunters.
Yes, that was Burton. Although it's a nice little ground, I enjoyed it. It was a good game as well. Really good game. It proper like ding dong end to end stuff. Loads of goals.
Yeah,
I can't remember what the score was. I'm just going to look it up.
It was a win for me. It was an away win, I believe, for Cambridge.
No, it was 2-2. So finished 2 each. Yeah, it was a good laugh. I enjoyed that one. I actually went to Studley after that. The reason why I kind of skimmed over it in the intro is it's Studley.
You don't have anything interesting to say.
I don't really have anything. The funny thing about it though is there's no entrance to the actual pitch at Studley. You go into a social club and then walk out the back door of the social club and then down like in between Solihull Moor's training pitches. And then you get down to where the pitch is, and then that's where you pay a couple of quid to get in.
Yeah, I mean,
that was the only interesting thing about Studley.
I think when that is the most interesting thing. It was like when I think it was in episode 1 when the most interesting thing I could think of about Crawley Green was that a sewer pipe had broken nearby and it smelt. I think that was the only thing I can think of for that one. So life's too short to discuss that, but hey, at least it's a point you've got on your column, I suppose.
Yeah, and it was a nice little easy Tuesday night game. Studley's really close to me, so it was pretty easy to get to. We turned up late and still got on the car park. So.
That's the way to do it. Okay, so from Burton via Studley to Barton le Clay in the very posh sounding Barton le Clay in central Bedfordshire for a Bedfordshire derby at the Sharpenow Road Stadium in the Chiltern Hills, which is
that's a very pretty backdrop.
It's I genuinely the Chiltern Hills are a bit of a hidden secret, really, well kept secret of Bedfordshire, my home county. It's a lovely rolling hills over there. It's all chalky, it's one of these grounds which is sort of nestled in all of that. It was a game in the Southern League Division 1 Central, prestigious, and it was against Bedford Town from a little bit further up north in the county. There's a nice picture of the entrance. So the main reason I did this is, well, one, it was close to
rusty
me.
pipe that's kind of in the background. It's on its way to becoming a pile of crap.
Oh, I should have taken a picture of the pile of crap at Barton, actually, because there was a great pile. It was before we decided to document them. It's Bedfordshire derby. Barton. The main reason why I did go to this, apart from it just being local and I was available, was a week before this. So I don't know if many people remember, in the middle of February there was them horrific storms that kind of battered most of the country. And in that thread there is a picture of it, but there was basically half the stand got absolutely demolished by this storm, and it was kind of well, let's
I'm as impressed as Barton Rovers that their sponsor, the thing actually stayed stuck on the front of the stand, even though the stand had actually fallen over.
Yeah, and that part of the stand did fall over, and I do understand actually that Topps Tiles will be. That was what it was like on the day. I do understand Topps Tiles will actually be possibly helping them rebuild it. So a nice bit of sponsor and club relationship there. There's a bit more of the damage from that. There's the scoreboard.
It's building and maintenance. There's the sponsor of this thing that's broken.
Well, I don't think it normally looks like that, but again, it was still quite windy that day, even a week on, because I think because you're almost on top of a hill, you did get a bit of a crosswind across.
It does look very exposed, to be fair.
Yeah.
When I was at Bath, which is easily the coldest game I've been to this season, it was kind of exposed and open, and I think that doesn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't help. But it was windy, but it was sunny as well, so it was kind of nice. To go for the big footy scran points, there was catering from Chicken George, which is a Bedfordshire institution. Actually, it's literally about 3 roads away from me, the original. It's the sort of basically voted the best takeaway in Britain, and they were catering at Barton Rovers on that day. So some excellent footy scran there. But apart from that, the game was kind of.
I'm just going to pull up the picture of the chicken because
it was expensive as it is, unfortunately, but it was good. It was good. The game itself, can't really say was particularly high standard. It was Southern League South Division, but it was Bedford were a really good side. It was a 2-0 result to them, but all in all, the game was actually in support of there was a young lad who was going through cancer treatment. So Barton were wearing a special red kit, which had the lad's name, George, on the back. Every player had that on it. So it was kind of one of these things where it was sort of all for a good cause, even if it was a league game. And it was again a nice one to tick off, should we say? There we go. Gorgeous, George.
I quite enjoyed the nice sentiment, but also that it says "Chicken for the Rovers" on the sleeve.
Chicken for the Rovers.
Chicken for the Rovers.
Yeah, Barton Rovers. It's a. I'd seen them before a good few years back. I saw them in pre-season against Dunstable Town, which is one of my local teams as well. I saw them play a pre-season game, so I've only ever seen them in Bedfordshire derbies. But a decent side for this sort of level.
Seemed like a nice bunch of lads.
Yeah, decent little side.
Moving on. So the next ground we've got to cover is Portsmouth, Fratton Park.
Fratton Park. So I've not done, but I've always wanted to.
Yeah, I've always seen Fratton Park on TV, and it always looks proper, like jumping. But I've also seen other people go there and say it's just not the same live. You don't really get the same like vibe. I don't know if it's just because they know people are watching on TV and they're all like we're proper up for it. Well, I went to Fratton Park to watch their game against Oxford United on March the 1st, and I need to pull up the appropriate tab. And there we go. So I went in there optimistic, cautiously optimistic. The weather was dreadful.
Yay, March.
Yeah, it's the wettest game I've been to since the legendary pre-season at Tamworth, where it absolutely hammered it down. And basically, I went with Josh, and we got to the train station and then stood there for 20 minutes because it's like there's no point going out into that. You're just going to get absolutely soaked. So it was that wet. I walked through 3 enormous puddles on the way to the ground. My feet were soaked. Like I was absolutely drenched when I got to the ground. So you can see from this, there's a lot of water. It's very damp evening. And I took this picture of Maria going through the turnstiles.
You like a turnstile shot, don't you?
I love a turnstile shot. I was actually standing there trying to get some of the water out of my trainers. It was very, very soggy. Luckily, it was all undercover. I think if this had been like a game where there was no stand covering us, if it had been like,
yeah, you would have been a right disaster.
But the lower part of Fulham, maybe I'd have been a bit damp. But here we are. We make our way in, and our seats are right down the end. So this is like a corridor at the back of the stand. So the thing about these older grounds is you get all these little nooks and crannies and bits that don't feel right. Like if it's a modern stadium, they just wouldn't design it like this. It's where they've just added a little bit of extra on here and there.
I've heard a lot of people say Fratton Park is just kind of like a big Kenilworth Road.
Yeah, I can see that. I can absolutely see that. I had a bit of a stroll around the outside because we basically, when we got to the ground, we turned left, and it's a while before you get to the first gate. And then we got to the first gate, and it's like I looked at the number, and we were absolutely nowhere near we needed to be. So we ended up walking all the way around and through another puddle. But yeah, it's just this kind of like old timey ground. It's just really nice, but also you got this whopping great big stand here.
Yeah.
This is basically the home end. So this is where all the noise comes from. This is me demonstrating that this is very old and very tight, and there's really no room at all. Like my knees are basically over the seat in front. It's probably the worst leg room I've come up against this season. And also, this great big pole off to my right means I couldn't really see the opposition goal down this end. So you think that those kind of things would count against it. I was soaked. I got no leg room. I had one of their pies and it was terrible.
That's always a bad thing.
There's a post in the way. I can't see the other goal. And you know what? None of that mattered. None of that mattered at all. Because when the game got underway, and I thought this was going to go completely to shit as well, because the game got underway, Oxford scored, and Portsmouth were rubbish for about 40 minutes. They were absolutely dreadful. But the crowd didn't stop. So the crowd just kept on at them, going like, come on, you can do this, and just kept
sucked the ball into the net.
Play up Pompey. And they were proper loud. It was a banging atmosphere in there. There's one bloke who he's in that end that I just showed you, and he's got a bell, which if I was anywhere near him, I'd punch him. But
yeah, they bring it to away games as well.
Apart from that, I thought the atmosphere was fantastic, and it was a really good game as well. So the Portsmouth scored a goal like 5 minutes before halftime, then got another one right before halftime, and everyone was really like properly buzzing at the turn. I was just going to show you that I also had a sausage roll. This was great. So it's a comeback on the food front, because I tried it was rubbish, but then
they tried to win you back with the sausage roll.
Yeah, it was kind of like a one from either half. Like if we do food awards at the end of the season, I think I've got them down for like best and worst. The pie was terrible though, really, really dire. I just want to mention that they're currently redeveloping the stand opposite.
Oh, okay.
So that bit, there's just nobody there apart from like 3 stewards who are there to make sure, I guess, nobody gets into it and like to chuck the ball back if it goes in there. Which, if you're having a stewarding job, like this is about as ideal as it gets.
Yeah, you're not going to get any aggro, are you?
Yeah, you just chill out in the middle of an empty stand and watch the game. So they had a lovely time of it. I'll show you this. This is the end, like properly packed out. Fellow with the bells round here somewhere. That might be there. You can see the cursor. I think that's the fellow with the bell. There's a bell and a drum and all sorts going on in there. But the sheer racket from this end was pretty sensational stuff. And they turned that game around, 1-3-2. The one thing that I was a bit annoyed about coming in is that I didn't get to see the iconic front of it, like the Fratton Park sign.
Yeah.
So I went and found that after the game finished and just took a quick snapshot of it. But this is part of the old Archibald Leach design, when he knocked the ground design together in the, I want to say 20s. It might 20s or 30s, somewhere around there. Not
around that bit of time.
Yeah, it was a while ago. It's when they had the ground like properly rebuilt. And there's still bits and pieces of that old design, including that fascia down there. It's a proper old ground. I had a great time at it.
Yeah, it's one of the ones I've always quite wanted to go to. I remember when I was younger, I loved that Portsmouth Premier League squad when it was like, you had like Matty Taylor and David James.
Proper cobbled together, wasn't it? It was
it was a great team to watch, and it was always good fun to watch. And I think Luton and Portsmouth had a few run-ins over the years, sort of over the last couple of years, being because I think when we was both in League Two and League One together, it was we were big teams way below where we should be, really. So there was always kind of it was always a good game against them because they nearly dropped out the league from the top. So
it's almost unthinkable because it's such a big ground full of history. The support's incredible. It's ridiculous to think they're at the same level as Burton Albion.
Yeah,
and they could be at the same level as Forest Green Rovers next season, which is. I've been to Forest Green. It's a fun little ground, but it's just they don't belong in League One. That's ridiculous. And Portsmouth also don't belong in League One. But there's some proper big teams in League One at the moment. I feel like there's too many big teams for the top two divisions. So you're going to have there's always going to be
somebody,
that get knocked out of it. But it just feels the atmosphere in there. It feels like they're too big time to be in that league. And I don't know if they're going to be good enough to get out of it. They were proper shit for like 40 minutes against Oxford. They still won the game, but they couldn't string passes together for almost half the match. So chances of them coming out this season, I don't know.
Pretty slim, yeah. And I think Sunderland continue to make a hash of it as well. So they'll be there forever.
I mean, Sunderland's even bigger. They've got a huge fan base, Sunderland. As I'm sure everyone knows from watching the documentaries on it. Right. Up next is Burnley.
Burnley.
I
don't think you can avoid saying it like that.
I didn't know what to expect from Burnley. I was expecting to go into a sterile sort of Premier League experience, which is, I think that's kind of what we got at Southampton for the most part. But with Burnley, it's a weird experience because Turf Moor is a very old ground. Like bits of it have been improved, but not all of it. And it's still got a lot of the character from when it was first built. So it feels like an old, comfortable pair of slippers when you walk into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I got in there and I sat down. I was like, "This is dead nice. This is," and then you kind of notice how modernized everything is. So with when we went to Southampton, they have like the pitch hoardings and stuff where they've got all the advertising on. In Burnley, they got all these bits like scattered all the way around the stands. Where let's see if I can find a picture to show. It's like even outside. Let me just shut this up. This is the part where I'm not quite as tech savvy as I want to quickly because I haven't already clicked
Play
on
for time. Play for time.
Yeah, so there you go. So this is just like a random bit of the outside of the building, but this is like it's like a proper LED screen with all the information keeps changing on it and stuff. So season tickets renewed at X and stuff like that. And it just felt really like
Space age.
The best of two worlds, because you get all the mod cons that you'd expect from a Premier League ground, but you also have the setting, which is like is proper old school. And if I show you some of the kind of lead up to the ground on the outside, you can see just how proud they are of the team as well locally. So you've got just about every building, and I've taken a picture of the Royal Dyche. Just that's not because of him, but all the buildings on the lead, the way up to the ground, they're all in like claret and blue.
Yeah.
All the local businesses, like the curry restaurant, has got like a claret and blue sign. The tire place is claret and blue. Everything's claret and blue because they just love the team around there.
Well, like even it's not that big of a place, is it? Like even though it's sort of in the Manchester sprawl, really, isn't it?
It is the smallest town to hold a First Division title win or a Premier League title win.
Okay. So
it's the smallest place to have actually had that, and they've got about 70,000 people there.
Yeah, it's tiny.
It's a small place, so there is that same kind of feeling of belonging that you would get with like a Newcastle, where it's one city, one team. It's like that, but on a smaller scale, and the fans are very passionate. They're very, very supportive of the club, which I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
I mean, with some like Turf Moor, that's about 30,000, 25,000.
I think I want to say 32.
I just looked 21,000. But yeah, that's nearly a quarter of the town's population.
Southampton's 32.
Yeah, we got them all mixed up. Yeah, it's like a third of the town's population you can get in that ground. So it's mad.
It's an absolute beauty. Look at it.
Yeah.
So I sat down in this stand, and you can see the hills out behind the stand opposite, and I just honestly, it was breathtaking. And I get the feeling that this bit over here, like away in this far corner where they dump the away fans, I think this is a bit of a shithole.
Well, yeah, the away end usually is.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few grounds this season where the away end is a bit of a hovel.
Shed.
But the ground, it's so beautiful. I just look at it.
On a lovely day as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lovely sunny day for it, but honestly, it's one of the best looking grounds just to sit in and just kind of enjoy the surroundings of. Yeah, just soak it all in. And they had all these little things going on around me where, like pre-game, there was like a highlights package of the history of the club. So if you were completely detached from what that was, by the time the game kicked off, you knew exactly what that club was all about and like what they'd done in their history and how proud they were of their history.
Well, they sort of did something similar, obviously going forward a bit at Southampton as well, didn't they?
Yeah. I quite like that as well, but I feel like the Burnley thing kind of personified what they were like. And I love this little bit up here where I don't know if these are ex-players or what the deal is, but there's just this section where it's just a load of old boys who get to kind of sit and watch the game.
Very modern.
Like, yeah, everything's kind of, it's modern, but it isn't. It's like it's an old ground, but when I'm talking about the all the weird LED stuff, just look at this. So you've got like the scoreboard at the top, and then you've got all these LED boards, and they're everywhere around the ground, just all over the place. Everything's got like trim. It's like it's like when you get like a new car, and there's all these little bits of LED trim on it, where it's they've put the colour scheme on the inside as well. It's like that everywhere. So yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and it's not one that you often hear about either. So yeah, I was a bit surprised when you. What? It is in the book.
It's in the book.
Of course, it's in the book.
It made it into the book, but I think it made it into the book for historical reasons because it's been there for so long and it is a historically important ground.
Well, it's one of the early football league grounds, isn't it? Surely, because Burnley surely one of the founding member. Yeah, so be historically very significant, I think.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan. I've come away from that. Burnley's really high on my list of favourite grounds that I've been to. It feels like a compromise between what we really like about lower league football and the big Premier League grounds. It feels like a compromise. It's not either of them, but it's in between. And so you've got the joy of football, but you've also got the pizzazz.
Yeah. The lights.
It's a great mixture. It's very hard to get right. And
you always want a little sprinkle of spark on the top.
Yeah. No, it's proper good ground.
Yeah, it's on the list, obviously. So.
Yeah. Well, they're all on the list, aren't they? But like, I would say it go there, but especially if they go down and they're like fiercely competitive next season, which I'm sure they will be. I think that would be one to go to in the Championship, probably. It'd be properly rocking because they kind of had the stuffing beat out of them when I went to see them because they played Chelsea and they made it in 0-0 at half time, but then they got absolutely massacred at the start of the second half and it got a bit miserable. So I'd like to see that ground when they're banging them in.
You want to see them stuffing Milton Keynes 4-0.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't anybody stuffing Milton Keynes.
No one likes Milton Keynes. Right, so now we're on to the last weekend. So we were supposed to record last week, but I got ill.
I'm suffering with the same thing.
Sorry, Mike. But then at the weekend, we went to a couple of grounds. So initially we were going to go to Southampton on the Saturday, but they moved the game because they had a rearranged fixture on Thursday.
TV.
So it got moved onto Sunday. So I'm like, well, got this Saturday free now. What are we going to do? So what we did is we went off to
this place in the background.
Mill Road, home of Arundel FC.
Yeah, Arundel. I went to Arundel, the town, in November last year, just on general tourism. And I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And then I think when it sort of came up that we had a Saturday free, and also having read that book as well, and going, well, Arundel's in this book. It's kind of let's do that because it's really, really nice. So yeah, it's the main selling point for Arundel FC. Let's not beat around the bush. It's the brilliant view of the castle in the background. It's a wonderful I'm honestly so shocked that Arundel isn't a more popular place for tourists in the UK because it's absolutely stunning. It's an absolutely stunning place, real like chocolate box sort of town, village really. And
this picture, this is from inside the ground.
Yes.
So this is the pitches in front of us here, and there's the castle.
Yeah, I can't think of many views as good as that I've seen this season, if not ever. Really, it's very imposing, despite maybe the level of football being very, very low. It's the lowest division of football I've seen. It's 10th tier, I believe.
Yeah, it's tier 10. I'm not actually sure what tier Fairfield Villa playing. I'm just going to look them up, but Fairfield Villa is probably the lowest I've seen.
Before this weekend, I think the lowest I'd seen was tier 9, which was the 61 FC. But it's very, very low level football. So but you're kind of not really going for the football. You're going for the view. But it was an entertaining game. I did find, even if the level wasn't particularly good.
Yeah, Fairfield's tier 11, so
wow.
I have actually been down a tier. There are about 10, maybe 11 people at that Fairfield game, and I didn't have to pay to get into it. So this is a notable step up. There was at least 20 at Arundel, because everyone went in the bar at half time. So like, I feel like there was about 30 people.
Yeah, the bar was busy.
Mm. It was a good atmosphere. I like the fact that like we turned up there and we didn't really know where we were going, so we kind of walked into the ground, and I just asked a bloke at random like where the bar was, and yeah, he's like he explained to her where it was, and then goes like, "You're not Arundel, are you?" And I was like, "Oh," and we've been rumbled. It's like the first time this season that somebody's gone, "You're not supposed to be." I feel like every other game we've just kind of gotten away with it.
Well, and in fairness, the guys, the person you asked was an away fan, so it was Seaford Town, who are a cracking bunch of lads. To be fair, great team, Seaford. And to be honest, I think if somebody asks you, if someone asks you as an away fan where the bar is, and you know they're not an away fan, because like I think if you're a Seaford Town home and away person, you'd know everybody who goes to everywhere.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
Somebody asks you in another ground, yeah, I think we kind of did show ourselves up there, but yeah,
well, he had a point. So I'm like, this is a man who knows where the bar is.
Yeah, well, that's a good point as well.
He was a nice bloke because we kept walking past him every now and again, and he'd
make a comment.
Asked him what he thought of the performance of the team, because like this is another game that I'd been to. This is 2 in a row I went to where the away team won 4-0, which has got to be a record of some kind. And yeah, we asked him what he thought of the Arundel team, and he said, "Yeah, they're shit."
Yeah, I think they were a team without very much organisation. The management, from what I can tell, is very hits with a sledgehammer. I don't think he's a delicate manager. You can, if you ever watch Mullets TV, which is their
you sound like somebody watches Mullets TV.
Well, yeah, if you're not watching Mullets TV, you know, smash the like button on there. Yeah, that you can hear the manager loudly berating the players whilst the game is going on. So I don't know if it's the most. It's not a surgical manager, as we would say. It's more of a sledgehammer. But yeah, it was a good fun game. Seaford were a decent side, but in fairness, Arundel is near the bottom of that division. They're looking at playing some. Yeah, they're looking to drop down to tier 11.
Bottom, and defensively they're a shambles. I'm pretty sure the goalkeeper was an outfield player who just happened to play in goal that game.
Yeah, it's he left a lot to be desired.
Yeah, they were quite poor. Really nice view though.
Yeah.
Really nice view. Had a nice time. Had a couple of pints. Had a cheeseburger.
It was a good burger.
Yeah. I mean, when we first went in the ground, it was like, well, I don't think there are any amenities here, because like we walked sort of to the right, and there was the building that we discovered was actually the bar, and all you could see is the I want to call him a DJ. Is that the tannoy guy?
Yeah.
Like he was stood in the room at the front, just kind of looking out onto the pitch, and we kind of looked in, and he's like, "What are you looking at?" But so there's that, and it's like, well, that's just that building. That's what that's for. You go back the other way, and the other building in the other corner, we kind of stuck our head in there, and that was the referee's changing room. But there's actually, it's like a hut, like on the far side of the pitch that they were selling burgers out of.
Yeah, decent burger. I think it's one of the best football burgers of the season, to be fair.
Yeah, it's this one here, this building that you can't quite see, but this is, believe it or not, it's a shack for burgers. So.
Yeah, it also shared facilities with the Arundel Petanque Club, which you could sort of see, which is a sport for French people. So there we go.
Yeah, like when we were on our way in, it's like the whole football club plays second fiddle to Belinda's 16th century tea room and is in danger of being overtaken by bouncefitbody.com as well.
Well, Belinda's tea room must have at least 400 years on Arundel Football Club. So
yeah.
At least 300.
Well, yeah, three, call it 3.5.
Yeah. So yeah, from Arundel, well, the following day, going forward 24 hours, we ended up for another Premier League ground for you. My first Premier League ground of the season, but your second. We ended up at Southampton.
Southampton. Yeah, I hadn't been to a Premier League game for 11 years, and then I went to 2 in a week. I want to say opposite ends of the country, but Burnley sort of up north, and then Southampton right down south.
Can't really get much more south, can you?
No, not really. You'd basically be in the Channel.
Jersey getting the Premier League. Jersey Bulls.
Yeah, it's a nice enough place, Southampton. We had a bit of a potter around, had a couple of beers.
Yeah, I've been to Southampton.
Duke of Wellington, shout out to the Duke.
Yeah, that's a proper boozer. That is. That's a good boozer.
Proper old school boozer.
But yeah, the ground itself, it's one of the early 2000s, late 90s. Can't exactly remember when. One of them sort of grounds.
2001, I want to say.
At the same age as Stadium of Light and Sunderland, so that sort of design style. But so it feels a bit like a spaceship, but it's also a bit soulless.
Yeah, it kind of looks cool. This is the brass band on the outside. I quite like that look. Like when you see this from a distance, it's like, oh, this might be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think especially having seen Arundel the day before, it puts a lot of things in perspective. This is what 10 tiers difference does to football.
Yeah, you would hate Arundel to get up into the Premier League because you wouldn't be able to see the castle out of one of these.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unless they built it like 3 sides like Oxford and you kept
the one side free so you can still see the castle, or just build the one stand like really low.
Yeah, it's you'd hate to lose that. There was a thing you said during the game. I might have been just before the game, which kind of stuck with me. Was like imagine time traveling from 1880s to this game here, and this is what football's become. The whole idea of, you know, I think this is the quintessential Premier League experience. I think with all of the pros and cons that come with it. The standard of football is pretty good. The travelling fans and the home fans, you know, it's a big old crowd. The stadium's all shiny and glitzy, but really, there's not. Kind of does feel a little bit manufactured in places. It's all. I kind of found myself gradually getting annoyed, apart from the fact that Watford were playing and I was watching them win. I found myself kind of gradually being incredibly annoyed that, like, at pretty much any time you would see at least 3 different advertisements for 3 different betting companies, which just gradually like ground me down to a like seething rage really about it, because I hate all of that. And we didn't get any of that at Arundel. I loved that was completely betting free, really.
I think Arundel was probably my favourite of the 2 grounds.
Oh yeah, I loved Arundel much more than Southampton. Yeah. Not to say that I didn't like Southampton. I did enjoy that. It was a really nice game.
There were things about the Southampton experience. I love the brass band that they've got.
Yeah.
When they did the whole thing where they marched down the sideline to when the Saints go marching in before the game starts. I thought that was a fantastic way of getting the crowd G'd up. It has a real sense of purpose to it. It's not just here's a piece of hype music. It's like they're actually literally marching down the side of the pitch. It's like they're charging into battle.
Yeah, and you see the old boys sort of they stood up as soon as their first drum hits, and it's like, you know, these these lads have been doing this for 60 years.
Mm.
You can see this is the same thing they've been doing since they were been going for what would have been the Dell and things like that. So it's I did like that especially.
Yeah, I had a lot of time for that. I had a lot of time for the Mix Master Ed as well. The
relegation music.
DJ playing relegation music at halftime. The announcements like the happy 70th birthday to Grandad Fat Boy that we spent a good solid 5 minutes giggling about afterwards.
Yeah,
it felt like the people is what make Southampton. Yeah. And I did enjoy a lot of their fans as well. I thought the fans were really good. The thing about the Premier League is it's just this big soulless thing at times. And like you say about the betting company, I didn't even notice it, but there's a betting company being advertised in one of the shots I've taken there. I didn't even see it. But you are right.
There was points where one billboard was advertising one, whilst another one was whooshing across the bottom. Both, it's a cancer to this sport. I hate it, and it was one of these things that I just kept on seeing. It was just irritating. I'd never really noticed it so much as I had in that game.
I feel like because I work in retail, I'm basically immune to advertising because I'm surrounded by it 24/7, and I just don't even notice it. So I know people who will say, "Oh, did you hear that advert for something or other?" I'm like, "No, it's white noise. It's just noise."
You're immune to it.
Yeah. So I feel like I don't even notice advertising. So it's clearly not working on me, but until you mentioned it, I hadn't noticed it. But it is right there. The fact that you can see it I'm just wondering if I can actually see it again. But there was definitely an advertising board up there. That's probably the only one I've got. But yeah.
It just annoyed me.
That's fair.
But yeah, no, but I didn't enjoy Southampton apart from that. But I think it's a quick of the sort of time period it's built. I think really that and Stadium Light really are the only ones because it was just before sort of the Emirates and things like that. So maybe
I think they've definitely got more creative with the new builds.
Yeah.
I think you look at new builds and they're getting more and more creative with them because they're aware they don't want that. Well, it looks like this basically. It's a tissue box with fans along the side of it. So.
I think a lot of people. Leicester's Walker's Stadium is another one, sort of the same period. I think people saw them grounds and think, well, we like some elements of this, but it's a soulless bowl. There's nothing about it that said Southampton apart from the things you put on top, like the marching band.
Mm.
It's it's not the most exciting of places to really go. It's a wonderful viewing experience in the sense that it's comfortable seating. Well, comfortable seating for me. My legs aren't as big as yours, but it's a comfortable viewing experience. There's a nice spacious concourse, so you're not cramped up. Well,
the concourse is amazing, but then it's a new build. You kind of hope it would be.
Yeah, but like with that, you do trade off different things. There's not the historical things like at Kenilworth Road where you kind of you find all of the little kinks and corners that you have to go around or at Fratton Park.
The only thing I'd like to see changed about Luton's ground is I'd like them to clean the fucking toilets.
There's no chance of that. Why would you clean it when we're going to build a new ground anyway?
Just get a jet wash in there.
I think a fire might help.
So yeah, I mean, I know it sounds like we're complaining a lot here, but every game of football that I go to, I take something out of it. I don't think I've ever walked away from a game completely miserable, that it was a complete waste of my time. Even like in games that the game we shall not talk about, even with that, it was an experience.
Yeah, and I think if you come from a game completely unmoved, then I think this isn't the thing for you. You should. every ground I've gone to this year, I'll remember something from. Otherwise, and if I don't remember it, then at least I've got the record of it somewhere. It's comparisons. It's all it is. There's things which we prefer and things that we don't like, and there's things that we do like. And I think me and Arn disagree on some things, on what we do like and what we don't like about grounds. I love sitting behind the goal, whereas you're not particularly big fan of that by all accounts. So
can't really see the other end.
Yeah, I prefer being behind the goal. So it's kind of
perspective as well. I can't really see the development of the play so much. I can't really tell if something's offside.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But yeah. So I don't know. There's no complaints. I think I've never come from one where I've been completely unmoved. I've come from grounds, and I feel like parts of me have been left there, especially this season. Ones I've really, really, truly loved. So it's always been a bit of a exciting journey this year.
Yeah, I mean we're going to do like a little bit of an awards thing at the end of the season when we're talking about the best grounds that we've been to. I've been to so I'm on 44 grounds, so I've done like 39 this season, I think.
I think I'm on 21, 22 this year. So
yeah, so I've been to a lot of grounds, and there's been a lot of really good ones.
Yeah,
and different good ones as well, and good for different reasons. So yeah, it's going to be fun to sit down and have a chat about the entire season in about 2.5 months.
Yeah, and then we get to kick it off all over again.
Yay!
Pre-season.
I've got a couple of grounds coming up this week. I'm going to go to see West Brom's women's team play at Sutton Coldfield on Sunday. I'm going to go to Notts County on Tuesday.
Okay.
I'm knocking that one off. We were going to go to Sunderland next weekend, but the game's been postponed because it's international break and they've got like 3 players on international duty, so they've called that one off. So it'll be somewhere else.
Obviously, next Saturday, the 26th of March is non-league day. So if you are watching this and you're kind of inspired to go out to a ground, this is the best weekend of all. If you're a season ticket holder for a Premier League or a Football League team, you can often get half-price tickets to games. It's also international break, so there's games in Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, and England. England's got Switzerland, I think, next weekend. But yeah, you can get some very good, very cheap tickets for non-league games next week in the next week or so. So it's definitely a good thing to jump on if you're even a little bit curious about this mad thing me and Arnold got into this year.
Yeah, I love football at all levels, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think you get something out of all levels of football. So whether that's there's only 20 people in the crowd or whether there's like 20,000, it's fun either way.
For sure.
Okay, other than that, no, I think we're done. We've covered our 8 grounds, and we'll be back in about a month-ish.
We'll see. We'll be back when we're back.
We'll be back when we're back. And on that note, we'll be seeing you.
See you later.